World War Z is a sci-fi horror film about a zombie apocalypse. The movie follows the journey of Gerry Lane, a former UN employee, as he battles a rapidly spreading zombie pandemic. It's not just an action-packed movie, but also a profound exploration of humanity's survival in an unprecedented disaster. At home, former UN worker Gerry Lane is making breakfast for his family and watching the news, while his wife, Karen, helps their two daughters pack their supplies and medication for school. The girls are curious about Gerry's previous job at the UN, and he explains that he left the job to spend more time with them. On their way to school, traffic in the city is heavily congested. Police officers are rushing, and helicopters are flying overhead. Fires erupt in the distance, causing widespread panic. But no one knows what's happening. Chaos escalates as the streets grow more disorganized. Realizing the danger, Gerry tries to drive his family to safety. His older daughter panics and unbuckles her seatbelt, sitting on the car floor. Distracted while driving, Gerry crashes into another car. Fortunately, the family is unharmed. With no other option, Gerry and Karen grab the girls and start running on foot. The area descends into chaos. People are running and screaming everywhere. They find a car nearby, and Karen gets the kids inside first. Gerry notices a man who has been bitten. Within seconds, the man turns into a zombie and attacks Gerry's family. As they prepare to drive away, another infected man attacks Gerry. Gerry and Karen manage to fight him off, but he seems to feel no pain. Eventually, the family escapes, leaving behind the chaos of a collapsing city. They drive to the suburbs, seeking temporary safety. On the way, their older daughter suffers an asthma attack. Gerry calms her down, helping her breathe steadily. He reassures her everything will be okay. Karen searched for medicine in her backpack, but it seemed to have fallen out during the chaos. At this moment, an old colleague, the Deputy Secretary General of the UN, Thierry, called from New York to update Gerry on the situation, and promised to send a helicopter to pick them up the next day, to get medicine for his daughter. Gerry drove the family to a supermarket, but the place was more chaotic than ever. While Karen and their younger daughter looked for food and supplies, Gerry, armed, took their older daughter to the pharmacy section. Suddenly, a young man pointed a gun at Gerry, but then surprisingly helped Gerry find the medicine for his daughter. Meanwhile, Karen wasn't so lucky. She was pinned to the ground by two men attempting to assault her. Gerry quickly rushed over, saved his wife, and shot one of them dead. It seemed the chaos revealed people's true nature. Even the police were scavenging for usable items before leaving. At this point, protecting one's family and survival was the priority. As the four of them reached the parking lot, their car was gone. Once again, they had to run on foot, searching for a place to stay the night. On the way, infected people crazily chased after them. The family ran into an apartment building, where Gerry had arranged for Thierry to pick them up. Gerry tied the door shut with a rope, to temporarily block the frenzied infected clawing outside. They quickly ran upstairs, but the infected followed close behind. Gerry pushed over a cabinet to block their path. Meanwhile, their younger daughter knocked on a nearby apartment door for help. Soon after, the family of four hid inside the apartment with them. Although the couple in the apartment didn't speak English, they warmly welcomed Gerry's family. Authorities confirmed that rabies was spreading rapidly. They advised people to stock up on food and stay home for a few weeks. The virus situation was getting worse. The next morning, Gerry woke up from a nightmare. After breakfast, relying on his own experience, Gerry advised Tommy's family to follow him to the rooftop for the helicopter pickup. He explained, "Those who keep moving will survive." But Tommy's family didn't want to leave. Before parting ways, they handed Gerry some duct tape. They attached a knife to the barrel of the gun. Once ready, Gerry's family nervously stepped outside. They tried to stay calm as they looked for a way to the rooftop. As soon as they opened the door to the stairs, a crazed infected lunged at them, making Karen scream. Gerry was forced to shoot the attacker. The gunshot noise attracted more infected nearby. One after another, they began attacking Gerry. One managed to knock Gerry down, spraying blood all over his face. Just as he was about to be bitten, Tommy appeared and shot the attacker dead, saving Gerry's life. With only Tommy surviving from his family, he decided to follow Gerry's family. Meanwhile, Karen managed to get their two daughters to the rooftop and successfully lit flares to signal for help. Soon after, Gerry and Tommy arrived just in time. However, Gerry had accidentally swallowed some of the infected's blood earlier. He ran to the edge of the building, counting to himself. After 12 seconds, he realized he was still fine, and returned to his wife and daughters. The rescue team arrived, but the sound of the helicopter attracted the infected. Gerry worked to block the door, to ensure everyone got onto the helicopter safely. With support from the soldiers, Gerry quickly ran towards the helicopter. The infected, crazed and relentless, threw themselves at their prey without hesitation. The rescue team successfully brought Gerry's family to a U.S. Navy ship in the Atlantic Ocean. They were safe. Thierry was overjoyed to see Gerry again. The crew provided shelter, food, and water for all five of them. Gerry's family was finally secure here. However, Thierry warned them that the world situation was dire. The disease had spread everywhere, and scientists were racing to identify the cause. and find a cure for the terrifying virus. Here, the term, zombie pandemic, was mentioned for the first time. Later, a military colonel tasked Gerry with escorting Dr. Fastbach to investigate the source of the disaster. Although Thierry assured him that an army team would protect him, Gerry was still reluctant to accept the mission. He didn't want to leave his family behind. At this point, the colonel had to make it clear. This wasn't a charity refuge for runaways. Everyone staying here needed to contribute to solving the problem. Left with no choice, Gerry handed his wife a satellite phone, said goodbye to her and their children, and set off to help save the world. During the flight, Gerry explained to Fastbach how to work with the military, while the young doctor shared his expertise on viruses. That night, they landed at the Harvard Pilgrim Base in South Korea, only to be attacked by a horde of zombies. Overwhelmed by fear, Dr. Fastbach slipped, accidentally shooting himself dead. Afterwards, a local military team rescued them and brought them to the base. Once thoroughly checked, the team leader asked about the deceased. Though Fastbach was the only one with knowledge about the virus, they had no choice but to proceed without him. Since the only clue about zombies originated from this base, they searched the area for information. However, they found no details about the source of Patient Zero. A CIA prisoner then told Gerry that North Korea had managed to contain the outbreak by pulling out all 23 million people's teeth in just one day. Additionally, Israel was also controlling the pandemic well, as if they had known the virus would emerge. With this led, Gerry decided to head to Israel for more answers. According to the plan, they quietly biked through the rain to the aircraft. But on the way, Gerry's phone rang, waking the zombies. The soldiers sacrificed themselves to get Gerry on the plane. From a team of 6, only 2 survived and made it to Israel. There, Gerry met senior official Jurgen, who had eavesdropped on Indian military intelligence about zombies. This prompted Israel to construct massive walls around Jerusalem. Anyone entering the country had to pass through secure gates with metal fencing. Soon after, the residents began singing, to celebrate and thank their deity. But the noise quickly attracted zombies, who rushed in to join the party. They piled up on one another to climb over the walls. The people inside the city were now like chickens in a co-op, waiting for the wolves to break in. Before long, a tsunami of zombies flooded Jerusalem. The military fought valiantly but hopelessly. A group of soldiers tried to get Gerry out of the city, but the outbreak spread too fast, blocking every escape route. Lieutenant Segan was bitten during a fight with a zombie. Gerry had no choice but to use a knife to amputate her left hand. He bandaged her wound while counting seconds. Luckily, she didn't turn. But things only got worse. The rescue plane was attacked by zombies and exploded into pieces. In the end, they managed to board a civilian plane that was preparing to take off. They safely got on board. After that, Gerry quickly disinfected Segan's wound. At the same time, he recalled how the zombies aggressively attacked humans, but ignored certain individuals, like water flowing around a rock. This thought led him to call Thierry, who contacted the pilot and arranged a landing at the nearest WHO station in Cardiff. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief and took the chance to rest. However, a flight attendant was attacked by a hidden zombie in a cabinet. The rear passenger cabin instantly turned into a zombie zone. Gerry instructed passengers to block the door with luggage, but someone dropped a suitcase, allowing the zombies to flood through like a torrent. One by one, people turned into zombies. Segan helped Gerry fend off some attackers, but it was clear this was a hopeless fight with no escape. In a desperate moment, Gerry detonated Segan's grenade, blowing the zombies out of the plane. The explosion destabilized the aircraft, forcing an emergency landing. When Gerry regained consciousness, Segan was missing, and he had a metal rod embedded in his left side. Segan returned after scouting the area, and together they headed to a nearby WHO station. But as they reached the door, Gerry collapsed from his injuries. The military lost contact with Gerry's plane, so they moved Karen and his 2 daughters to a refugee camp. When Gerry regained consciousness, he found himself tied to a bed. His wounds, however, had been treated and bandaged. After some questioning, the 2 in charge learned his identity and mission. Gerry was furious when he discovered the truth about Karen and his children's situation. He presented his hypothesis to the scientists at the research station, injecting a curable, deadly disease into the body to camouflage against zombies. Since the zombie virus only targets healthy hosts, it ignores sick ones. Thus, this method could be used as protection. But the only way to prove his theory was for Gerry to retrieve a pathogen sample from Zone B and inject it into himself. The problem was, this area was highly dangerous. But in this situation, there was no other choice. After finalizing the plan and preparing weapons, a 3-person team carefully entered Zone B to collect the samples. The atmosphere was tense. Even the slightest noise could alert the zombies and doom them all. They had to tread lightly and speak in whispers, avoiding rooms filled with dormant zombies. In this eerie silence, even the sound of a door creaking was heart-stopping. When one of the team accidentally bumped into a metal cabinet, it woke the zombies, who charged at them. The horde swarmed toward the trio, Gerry decided to split off, creating noise, to lure the zombies away from Segan and the scientist, so they could retrieve the pathogen samples. After a chaotic chase, Gerry managed to kill one zombie, but the effort reopened his old wounds, causing him pain. Meanwhile, Segan and the scientist reached room 139, where the samples were stored. However, the room was surrounded by too many zombies, forcing them to retreat. After a nerve-wracking escape, they returned to the main building, just barely alive. Gerry, however, was still trapped. Wandering alone, he eventually reached the lab. As he prepared to break into the room to get the samples, his phone rang. The call came from the monitoring room, where a staff member provided Gerry with crucial guidance. The password to the lab was provided. Gerry successfully collected a sample of the pathogen. Just as he was about to leave in relief, he noticed a zombie waiting for him outside the door. With no other option, Gerry injected the sample into himself. He looked into the camera and wrote a message for his family. "I love my family so much." Unable to communicate with the control center, Gerry randomly selected a vial from the box. But not every pathogen was curable. If he chose wrong, he would die immediately. If he didn't choose, he wouldn't be able to leave. Gerry took a deep breath and injected himself. Then he waited. He didn't know how long it would take to work, or even if his hypothesis was correct. But for his family and humanity, he decided to take the gamble. After waiting for a while, he stepped to the door. Life and death were separated by a pane of glass and a button. Gerry pressed the button to open the door. The zombie lunged at him, sniffing for its prey. After a moment, it lost interest and wandered away. Gerry slipped out quietly, locking the zombie inside. Everyone in the control room celebrated in joy. This time, they could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Gerry rewarded himself with a can of soda, satisfied. He emptied the vending machine, letting the cans drop. The noise drew zombies to the scene. They passed by Gerry, without paying him any attention. Gerry had opened the door to a brighter future for humanity. The sacrifices made to protect him were not in vain. Eventually, Gerry reunited with his family. Nations began mass-producing vaccines to counter the zombies. The vaccines were distributed in quarantine zones, and saw significant initial success. Humanity began pushing back against the undead. The real battle had just begun, and humanity would face the post-apocalyptic world. But that's a story for another time, another journey. So, be prepared for the worst that may come. Stay proactive in every situation, and cherish time with your loved ones. The most important thing is to keep improving your survival skills today. You never know, they might save your life tomorrow. And that's the end of today's episode. If you enjoyed it, please give me a like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on upcoming videos. See you again in the next movies. Goodbye.